So let's look at defining exponents. So an exponent is when we have a to the nth power. This means a times a times a times a bunch of times. So however many times, we don't need that. N times is however many times we're going to multiply a. So some of the lingo with this is that a is called the base, and n is called the exponent, or sometimes it's called the power. And I'm going to leave a little space for another definition we're going to do later, but let's start doing some more basic examples. So I left one little line for one more definition we're going to add. So let's say I have 2 to the third power. This means 2 times 2 times 2. So that's where we sometimes call it the power. 2 is the base, 3 is the exponent or the power. A lot of times we say 2 to the third power. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. Or 2 to the fourth power. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So I mean, going off what we just did, 8 times another 2 would be 16. Now when we get to something bigger, like let's say 2 to the 11th, it's certainly going to be, there's a shortcut in our calculator versus entering 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 11 times. We start with entering 2, and then in most calculators it's a little, sometimes I like to call it the carrot top or top of a triangle. Otherwise it might be an x to the y or y to the x button. Those are some other possibilities. And then when you enter the exponent, so if you enter 2 to the 11th, hit enter, you should get 2048. Okay, how about now, so those are all when we had positive bases. What if we have, in parentheses, negative 2 to the third power? So this means negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. So the negative 2 times negative 2, the first two, positive 4 times negative 2 is going to be a negative 8. What if we change to negative 2 to the fourth power? Okay, so now we have 4 negative numbers. I mean, we already know the number is going to be 16, but in this case, the first 2 negatives are going to become a positive multiplied. Next 2 negatives are going to become a positive multiplied. So it will end up being a positive 16 again, just like when the base was positive. Generally speaking, when I have a negative base, whenever the exponent is odd, the answer would end up being negative because you'll have that extra negative. Whenever the exponent is even and you do a negative base to an even power, it's going to go back to positive. Now, what about if I had negative 2 to the fourth power like this with no parentheses? So then the negative is not being done to the fourth power, just the 2 is being done to the fourth power. So the negative is just hanging out there, and then we do 2 to the fourth, which is 16, so my answer is negative 16. So be careful that too in calculators when you're entering. If there's a parentheses around the base in the problem, you would need to enter parentheses in your calculator. And then one last example, how about 2 to the 0 power? So 0. 2 to the 0 power is 1. Anything to the 0 power is always 1. So that's that other definition. I am going to add up to the top. Switch to black. A to the 0 power is 1.